get a bit of live music as we go into our next session, which is the first session. We'll be talking about careers, we're talking about jobs and finance, and we have wonderful panelists. Shall I introduce them now as they walk up? Or yeah, let me introduce them now. We all know them, but we actually don't know what they do, and it's good to get to know about them today. So we have, let me make sure I don't say something wrong, that misquote. We have Francis Babalola. Round of applause for Francis. Woo! He's come up as I introduced. He's a self-employed performance coach and a personal trainer. That's Francis Babalola. We also have, as a panelist, another expert in her field. She has 27 years of experience in the finance industry. We have Funke Titilola. I know her as my auntie. Welcome her. She's the lead specialist in collateral management at Schroders, which is an asset management firm. Let's give a round of applause for them. Round of applause. Give us a little music. Be warming. Woo! You guys comfortable? Can we get some water if that's possible for our panelists? We can't allow them to go thirsty. So Daniel mentioned it. There's certain things that we don't discuss. There's certain things we don't talk about. And we thought that on a Saturday like this, our first weekend, that we will talk about careers, finance and jobs and other topics. And there's people that we know that are experts within their field. We want to get to know more about them, what they do, and career, God, what does that mean? Do they involve God in their career as well? So quickly, just briefly, Francis, you say you're a self-employed performance coach, personal trainer. What do you do day in, day out? What does that mean?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege, and we thank God for this Spark for God. You guys are doing an amazing job. Give him a round of applause, please. So my name is Francis Babalola. I am a performance coach. So I train, your regular people. I also train athletes. I've trained Olympians. I've trained world-renowned athletes. I've trained people in the schools. I've done stuff at clubs. So I just work with people. And I started working with people on their fitness journey. Okay. And then over time, I just evolved into helping people mentally and things like that. And just using training as a form of helping people to actually live better lives and things like that and have better lifestyles. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Wow, Francis, that's very exciting, man. Round of applause for Francis Babalola. Impacting communities through his work. Takes it very seriously. He's a very serious man, I must say. And Funke, you're a lead specialist in collateral management, 27 years of experience. You work for an asset management firm called Schroders, which I've come to learn today. Just tell us briefly, what do you do day to day? Let people know. I don't know much about asset management, so yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the privilege and honour to be on this panel today. And I second what Francis says. Well done, Spark for God. I'm very, very proud of your achievements and your growth.
Thank you, Auntie.
So I work in asset management, okay? I like to explain, because when I say I work in finance, people automatically think I work in banking. Banking is quite big and diverse. And I work in asset management, so I manage people's assets. Within asset management, I work in the collateral team. Now, what is collateral? Collateral is basically, you want to buy something, and you put down something as a deposit. So my collateral basically is what is put down in case they default on payments. So my brokers, they will make trades in foreign exchange, different types of derivatives and financial instruments. I manage the collateral that is placed down. So everything that they trade has maturity, where it's going to mature. Before up to maturity, if they're going to default, that collateral is placed down. So basically, as every day, it swings one way or the other. So I have to issue what they call a margin call based on that. So I'm basically managing the assets and the money that is behind the trades that they've put down. Sorry, I tried to do it as simple as possible.
Did you get that? That sounds very intense, quite complex.
It's quite complex.
That's great to know, because I knew Auntie was in finance, but like she said, I just thought she was in banking. I didn't know she was in asset management. Is that a very demanding job? Do you
Yes,
Okay.
it is very demanding, and it can be very stressful.
Okay.
Very stressful.
Okay. I wanted to, talk about your career journey. So maybe to start with you, Auntie. 27 years in the finance industry. Is this something that you always wanted to do? Is this something you dreamed about? And just talk briefly about your journey, how you got to where you are now, and yeah.
Okay, so I'll try and be as brief as possible. I always wanted to do finance. I always wanted to do banking. So I did the normal route. I went to college, went to uni, graduated, but the opportunities that were available for me, that are available for you now, were not available when I was growing up. It's either you go to work, so don't go to university, get a career path by working, or you go to university. I chose university. I went to university, I came out, I couldn't get a job in finance because they were saying that I hadn't have experience. No, I don't have experience, I went to uni. So whereas now you have all different ways where you can, like my daughter did, she took a year out, she did all that. That wasn't available at my time. So I came up against a lot of barriers in order to get into finance. So whereby nowadays you can go to university and get a finance job, I had to go through the route of going through agencies and working with agencies and doing, gaining my little experience in temporary roles. No one wanted to give me a permanent role because I didn't have the experience and the knowledge, even though I had the degree and education side. I didn't have the experience, the physical experience. So that was how my journey into finance went. So I went through lots of different banks, HSBC, Credit Suisse. I've been through all the banks, but a lot of it was temporary roles until I had my first permanent role in Deutsche Bank. That was my first role, and I was in foreign exchange. I worked in foreign exchange for a couple of years. I moved from foreign exchange, I've moved to money markets, then into derivatives. This is my first role that I'm in now, as asset management. I've always been in the investment banking side.
I didn't even know all of that.
Well, she took us on a journey. Well, she showed a great resilience as well to go through that stage of coming out of university. Many people, we have that as well. It's still kind of a challenge, but we do have more opportunities, than back then. Coming out of university, having a degree but no experience. But you definitely showed a lot of resilience to keep going. And wow, you've done well, Auntie, 27 years. I was going to ask quickly, when was it, in the 27 years, when did you get your first permanent role, as in the Dutch bank? When was
My
that?
first permanent role in Deutsche Bank was in 1998.
1998. Wow. I think Daniel's going to speak a bit more about the obstacles and challenges, but let's go to Francis. So, your journey, how did you get to where you are now? I know you went through the route as well of university. You've got many talents and expertise as an entrepreneur, as a footballer as well. And I guess, just tell us a bit about your journey as well.
So my journey has been, I've always been in like the sporting environment. So right from a young age, I wanted to be a footballer. And I literally spent all my young years just training. So I would go to school at the time when I was even Charlton. From school, I would wait a few hours to wait for after school. When we finished 3:30, I wait till 5 or 5:30. Then I go to the Charlton training ground. I was doing that 3-4 times a week after school, and then did that for some years. And then so it was a lot of dedication from a young age because I just knew I just wanted to be a footballer. And then let's say I just started getting older. So I went to sixth form. But in terms of the academics, I was okay, but I never really didn't really want to do the book stuff. I was okay. I'll do enough to pass and things like that. And then I got really good grades at school. Got to sixth form, I got okay grades. Went to uni. To be fair, it was just going through the journey. I was just we're going to go through the journey. And then it was third, even through uni, I was still playing football at the uni football team. And it was the third year, I got to I think we finished maybe April-ish, May. It got to Feb. And your dissertation is due in about 8 weeks. I was I think I need to start.
We'll do that.
And I was like, there was one day, I actually had a break now. I was like, in my room, I was like, I don't think this thing's for me, man. I was like 3 years in, but I was like, I got 8 weeks left. Let me just, so thankfully I came out of a 2-1. I don't know how that happened.
He's good.
But I somehow got 2-1. And then I came out, and then the aim was for me to do marketing. So I like marketing, I like advertising and things like that. So I was going to do masters. Don't ask me why. So I saved up all through my uni. So I was like, September, uni gave us half price. Going to do masters. Anyway, all through that summer, I'd spent everything. Like when the uni sent us an email, okay, cool, it's time to pay your full blah 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 grand. I had £30 in my account. I was like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna happen. But it was all part of the plan somehow. And then I had the conversation with my dad when I finished, and he was like, doing the whole, okay, cool, you finished now. You're just going in and out of the house. There's no job. I was just like, Dad, I want to play football, man. Like, and he was like, oh, is that really, like, you're like 21? Da, da, da. I was like, no, I'm going to make it work. And then I started playing for like semi-pro teams, started to get paid. And then there's something about, this is an advice I would just give to the young people. When you decide what you have to do, you have to take it so serious. And there was something that I always just dedicated so much time in training and trying to do things. And then there's something when I started to get paid, okay-ish money, when I say, okay, my mum, I'll take your phone bill. When you start paying some of the bills in the house, okay, the internet bill, I'll pay it. Okay, what else? Started paying for this, started paying for the house. And then from then on, my parents never even come back and be like, yo, are you gonna get a job? So when they saw that I actually really took it seriously, then they were like, okay, cool, I think he's serious. So I always just kind of pursued that sporting environment. And then just to kind of round up, some years down the line, I was like, I don't think the corporate stuff, I never really worked in the corporate world like that. I did part-time work as a manager in Labrooks. And then one of my teammates was like, you'd be good as a personal trainer, you know, I'm self-employed, you could be self-employed, you can work for yourself, and you can balance football around it. And I thought, okay, let me try it. I prayed about it, and everything just went smoothly. And then, fast forward years down the line, we're doing pretty well. We thank God.
Go for that, man. Both spoke about at university, coming out of uni and going through a bit of, I guess, would you say it was testing times? Coming out of university, trying to go from different agency, working in different banks, being told that you don't have the experience. Could you talk a bit about that, Auntie, about that time and how? Yeah.
So you have this image in your head. I'm going to go to university, I'm going to get my degree, and I'm going to get that job. You just kind of think that life falls into place like that. But then when the reality hits that, it doesn't quite work like that. First of all, it made me very, downcasted and, what am I going to do? Where do I start? What do I do? Where do I go? I know some of you are quite young, but there used to be these magazines, they call them 9 to 5, these finance magazines. I know they do them now, but in the end, in the city, you would go to the city, to in the station, like you go to Moorgate and Bank and Liverpool Street Station and pick up these magazines. And in those magazines, you would see the advertising of these financial temporary agencies. You would go to these temporary agencies, they will give you a card, they'll promise you, yeah, we're gonna get, you know what, okay, right, it's good, you're a great candidate, okay, you will leave that place thinking, yes, hey, God has done it, I'm gonna get a job. No job. Or you get the interview, you go to interviews, at least I've got my foot in the door, I've got interview, I can wing it, I can speak, I got the gift of the gab, you get there. And they ask you this question, you think, this isn't for me, this isn't happening. These things make you, these are testing times, these are times when, and when you're young in spirit, young in faith, you're young in experience, you're young in life, these things can knock you. These things can knock you, they can knock your self-confidence, they can make you think, first of all, why did I go to university? I know as Nigerian parents, our parents, because I was the first in my family to go to university, okay, right? So you could imagine the adulation and the excitement and the happiness of my parents, okay, right? And you think to yourself, what was that for? Maybe I should have left school at 16, like all my peers, okay, right? And go, even now, my managers now, okay, right? They don't have education. They don't have education, but they're my managers. Okay, but they left school at 16. Their GCSE go on in that time. They don't have it, and it makes you think that at that point, should I have done that? But this is where we say God is enough, okay? You need to trust the process. You need to trust God's plan for you, okay? God's plan for you is not the same as God's plan for everybody else, okay? We look at them and think, you know what, okay, right, yes, I've got many rejections. I've got many people turning me down, making me think that, am I good enough? But God knows we're good enough. And that's why we say that God is enough. He will take us, I mean, look at me now. He takes us through and he brings us up. So let's just, this is a bit of advice to all of us, okay? I'm glad we're all Christians here, we know God. Just hold on to God and just trust the process. His process is the right process and it will get you through.
Amen. Wow, that was strong, Auntie, definitely. What is the process? So like, through that period where you're trying, it's not working, but you know where you're gonna go. You're talking about a process, and we kind of use that word a lot as well as young people. We're just going through this process, things will work out. But what is actually that process? You've experienced it. Could you tell us what that process is, and what conversations you're having with God? What things, practical things, are you doing as well in terms of the line of work? Someone that's been told don't have experience. Now you've got 27 years of experience.
So in terms of practicality, don't just sit back. Don't wait for it to come for you. You have to be a go-getter. You have to go and get it. You have to have that mental ability that I need to go out and pursue what I want. Don't give up. Don't give up despite what people say to you, okay? In spite of them, you need to achieve. And also just pray to God. I'm glad that young people here, you know Christ. You know Christ more than I did when I was my age, when I was your age, okay? And it's because of the home you're coming from, okay? Your parents have put you in a line of Christ. That's why I thank God for life with my children, because we know Christ. If I had half of their foundation, okay, things might be different for me. But in all, you give thanks to God. But yes, you just continue, because my journey calling on Christ happened more in my later years than in my beginning. Okay, if I'm honest with you, in my beginning, my later years, because I've had struggles with work, okay, is God. Speak to God. Tell him what you want. Tell him the process is giving it to Christ. God will take you through.
Amen. And it's good to see Auntie had a little determination, speaking about just mentally being determined and also giving it to God as well. Francis, I want to go back to you. You come out of university, you're telling your dad you want to play football. That's obviously dad's thinking, you just went to university, you've spent all this money, you invested 3 years, now you want to go back to football. You should have done that when you were 16. You didn't need to go uni. So talk about that bit, and obviously the determination you had as well to go training at 21. I had a little football career as well. I ended quite, maybe I'm 40 years old, but
you got injured, right?
A little one. But I wasn't even consistent. But I'm thinking about 21, come out of university, you're doing that, you're determined, you're seeing the fruits of it. Yeah, talk about your process and then to where you are now, and are you still playing football now as well? And
so I think from growing up, I'm sure most of us will know, like my sister, we're different characters. So our parents brought us up to be very different in terms of like when you were in school. So I remember whenever I'll be in school, I would misbehave in school, whatever, and I'd get a call home. And then you get that talk with your parents, and they're like, "So why did you do that? Why did you throw the paper across the room?" And then you start thinking, "Why did I actually do it?" And so they'll always be like, "Just because your friends are doing something, it doesn't mean that's for you." And I learned from a very early age to kind of go with what's called my gut instinct, which is God speaking to me. So I think I shared it once in one of the youth preachings that I did. So from a very, very young age, there was like, we had a party, me and a group of my friends, and then they were like, "Let's go." I thought I was going to go at first, and then something was like, "Don't go." And for me, when something tells me to do or not to do something, I always listen. And then I didn't go, so what happened, there was a fight, there were stabbings, pretty much all my friends got stabbed, and waking up in the morning, one of them's dead. So it's like, so from an early age, I've already had experiences of listen, and just even if the whole world is doing something or not doing something, or even your parents or whatever, just listen. So So that's how kind of like my parents brought us up. So my sister, she does her thing. I do my thing. My older sister, she's a doctor. We're all very, very different. So when we did have that conversation, we all had that conversation with our parents. They listened because that's how we were brought up to be. And like I said as well, when you make that decision, you have to back it up. And I think what happens is, I don't know, as you might make that decision, but if you're not serious, then you kind of allow your parents to come and keep asking you, like, what's going on? So going through that, I always kind of just knew my path. All my friends were getting like graduate jobs. I think I even applied for some, but even when I was applying, I was like, I don't know, man. So I always kind of knew what's for me, what's not for me, and I just listened. I just listened to that process. And in terms of football, I always played semi-professional. I played at a very high level. I've played at Wembley. I've played cup finals. I played on TV several times.
All right.
So yeah, but now I'm on a little break because I'm just dealing with an injury. But then I'll be back in. But even still now, in terms of making decisions that are right for you, I could play at a very, very... And there was even a point where I know I could have made it like professional, but I prayed the hardest prayer I've ever prayed in my life. And I said, I've only shared this once, and I said to God, if being a footballer is going to make me miss heaven, or if it's going to change me, just take it away from me. That was the hardest thing.
Round of applause, man.
Like, I remember praying that prayer, and I was crying. I was like, I don't want to pray this, but I feel like I needed to. But then it just worked out well, because I know if I had gone a certain path, I kind of know that, I don't know, I might not have been here, do you get what I mean? So I always think, pray to God and just listen to your journey. Like our Auntie Funke said, you have to listen to your own journey. We all have our different journeys. Even if you're twins, it doesn't mean you're on the same journey. So yeah, so.
That's like really insightful, and I think I just want to draw on the fact that you said that from a young age you heard, like, I'd say, God's voice, and sometimes in situations when you're going through a lot of troublous times, it can get cloudy. So how do you decipher his voice, and what would you say to people in order to stay on that path and continue to be still within that time?
That's a great question. And I believe even one time I spoke to Pastor Shegon, and I said, how do I get voices and noises, and it's like, how do I kind of listen, and which one do I go with? And then he gave me a practical example, and he was like, one of the first things you want to do is shut out external distractions. So he said, next time you speak to your mum, just start banging on the table as she's speaking. I was like, no, I can't do that. He was like, but why do we do that with God? You know, God's trying to speak to us, but we're allowing the noises to be louder than his voice. So he's like, shut out the noises. So sometimes I can be an extrovert and I can also be an introvert. So sometimes I'll just really draw back and pray and just listen to my heart, and God always speaks to my heart. And then in terms of the external validation, I believe once you know who you are, and again, he set me an assignment, I think I was like 20 years of age, so like 10 years ago, and he was like, who are you? So describe who you are without describing your occupation, what you're wearing, If you can really know who you are in Christ and as a person, all the other validation just doesn't matter, because his word for your life is the only thing that matters, and I always hold on to that. So yeah.
Bro, that was very deep, man. Back to Auntie as well, just speaking about when things are, the same question actually that Daniel said, when things are cloudy. I think as a young person now, there's a lot of distractions. There's people comparing themselves to other people online and things like that. Hence, I guess why lack of determination, lack of drive, lack of motivation at times, because of these cloudy voices. And did you experience the Auntie as well, going through, I guess, having that, coming out of university, going through different, working at different agencies, and did you know who you was? Well, at what age did you know who you were? And yeah, were you always determined?
Yeah, so it's very good that you've got two different people on the panel, in a sense, a younger person and a more older, mature person, because the two differences. Like the noises you have nowadays, like the social media, the comparison, I didn't really have that because there was no such thing then, okay? So it was easier for me to kind of know who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, okay? So that wasn't the problem, it was getting there, okay? Whereas now you have, there is noise, okay? Because also, like, you know, when you finish university and you're like, okay, mum's like, okay, you've done it now, where's the job, okay? Because even your parents have an expectation, okay? Expectation, okay, she's out of university now, she's gonna get this mega job, you know, and things gonna fall in place, okay? They don't understand, especially parents who are of an older generation, like my mum, they don't understand the process.
Yep.
It's not, you don't just fall into a job. You've got to go through application, you've got to go through interview, they've got to accept you, okay? So the problems I face is, you know, when you're not getting this job, you went to university, you got a degree now, what's the problem? What's the delay? You know, time is ticking. You should be getting married by now, you should be living kids now, you need, you know, those were the things that you have to, that I had to drone out, okay? I know my path, I know where I'm going, I know where I want to get there. I don't quite know how I'm going to get there, but I know where I want to go,
Amen.
okay?
Amen.
And I know that your noise is not going to allow me to get there where I want to go. So those are the things you need to quite, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that don't listen to your parents, okay? Or, you know, but I'm just saying that that's the noises that I had to kind of drone out so I can hear the direction that I was being led to.
Wow, that's definitely powerful. Strong. You have to be strong to do that. To not listen to, especially pressures from family. I think family pressures are definitely hard. There's always pressures in a lot of areas, work, marriage, and all those things. And I think something that, I don't know, it's bad to stereotype or say a particular group of, but I'll say growing up in the community I grew up in, maybe within church or within the area, there's a lot of financial pressures on the families as well. And hence they probably pass that on to their child to come out of university, you gotta work, you gotta do something because you need to contribute back to the home. You need to show that, you know, financial pressures in general. And obviously we're going through a cost of living, already spoke about it. Financial pressures and coming back to work in your career as well, has that been something that has affected your decisions? Just talking about money as well, and obviously the topic of today, God is more than enough. You know, we believe as God will always provide. He's a provider, that's his nature. But within this world, another distraction or cloud is a financial pressure as well, and the cost of living. So how have you dealt with financial pressures? Have you ever considered the money of your occupation? And has money been a consideration in your choices of work? Is the money enough as well? Is the money enough? Is the money enough right now? Was it enough back then? Just financial pressures. And let's go to Francis first.
Oh, I thought you was going to go to
Auntie was ready as well. You wasn't ready.
So in terms of the financial pressure, there's always financial pressure. But again, from a young age, I always wanted to be self-employed, kind of just looking at how my dad was self-employed and my mum, how she was working, she didn't really enjoy it. My dad kind of enjoyed what he was doing, but he worked a lot. So I knew I wanted to be self-employed. I wanted to work myself. I don't know how or what, I just knew I wanted to work for myself. But with that, it's big pressure. You have to work a lot, you have to work hard. But the beauty is, when again, like Auntie said, when you have clarity, you know what you want to do, you don't know how you're going to get there, God will always provide ways and steps, what you need to take each step. He won't provide the full picture for you, otherwise it would just be too easy. So we just have to rely on him and that. And then I started from a very young age, I started doing quite a lot of self-development, so like reading the books, meditating, etc. So before I leave my house, like every morning I speak to myself, I speak to God. And then I always kind of believe, having that athletic mindset that I had from a young age, there's always better ahead. You always have to work for better. You always need to improve. There's always a way of you progressing and getting better. So in terms of financially, working for myself, I always set myself like goals. I always want to get to the next level. I'm not like money orientated like that, but I believe our, let's say, earnings or whatever it is as a result of our current mindset, our current like mentality kind of thing. So, for example, I've been on the table probably like a month ago, people in my industry talking about, I made 100 grand like in one day last month. These guys are talking about, and I'm there like eating my food. Like yo, so yeah. So in terms of financially, I believe the ceiling is according to what we have in our mind. God has provided it for us, and like I want to say, there's something that each and every single one of us can do in this room that nobody else can do. So I think if we can pinpoint that, people will run across the world for that. So, and I think it's just down to us to pull that out.
Yeah. Before we go on to Auntie, to ask like this quick question in terms of your role as in training people, and I believe you train obviously fitness, but also train people, I guess, mentally as well. How do you pass on that knowledge to people and ensure that they are consistent as well? And knowledge in terms of your work, so so fitness, but also mentally as well. Just giving that strong mindset. The athletic, I believe, athletic training builds a strong mindset. How do you do that within your work, basically?
So
briefly as well.
So yeah, I'm gonna make it quick. So a lot of the things, so like from reading the Bible and a lot of the philosophy that I live my life with, I try to pass it on to my clients like gently. So I might not come and be like, yo, Psalm verse 39 says this, but like slowly, bit by bit, I try to incorporate bits of Christ into them, and then also try to get people to look in a bigger picture. So yeah, but I always pray about God to help me, to give me the things to say, not to say, and it always helps for them.
That's good.
Auntie, financial pressures, first one to go to university, right? Yeah, so how did you deal with financial pressures? And also, just advice in terms of, a lot of people in our community working 3 jobs, 6 days a week, night shifts, and still struggling as well. So personally, how did you deal with it? Is it something you consider within your workplace and decisions you make, and any advice just around around financial pressures?
I think especially also like obviously as you're a mother as well and have a family, 100%. Maybe like drawing on those insights and to help other people.
So I'll tell you one of the things that motivated me into working in finance was my background. Now basically I came from a household where my mum brought us up. She worked long hours. She did morning cleaning. She did her day job, she did evening cleaning. When we were old enough, we did morning cleaning. This is my life. We did morning cleaning, we'll go to school, we'll come back, we'll do evening, okay? So that was the life we had. We knew no different, okay? So it wasn't like, nowadays they may call it child abuse, okay? That was our reality. But I knew that was not the life I wanted. I didn't want to work a job where I had to leave my home at 5 a.m. and not come home again till 10 a.m. and also not have a weekend. So I knew that this is what I wanted, and I knew the only way, there's other jobs, but to me the only way I could do that was getting into finance where I wanted to get to. Now that was my motivation. So I have always contributed into a household, okay? Now, I didn't want my children to have to contribute into a household. I wanted my children to have the freedom to do what they want, okay, without the pressures, because it's pressure, okay? Going to school, having to wake up at 5 a.m. to do a cleaning job, go to school, concentrate at school, come home in the evening, go and do another cleaning job in the evening. Where's the time to do your homework? Where's the time? But you also have to succeed. There's no failure. You have to pass. So it's very hard, even talk about that, it's quite emotional, but that's when I knew that I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want it for my kids. That was the motivation for me. Now, financial pressure. I have had financial pressure, even as a mother, okay? I'm in this church, I've shared my testimony. I will give you a brief, but this job I'm in now in Schroders, like I said to you, I have always been in finance, but this is my first job in asset management. Had a period, when finance, okay, right, you have slumps and you have highs, okay, right? Because depending on the economy, okay, what's happening in the business, it's a business, okay? They can turn around today and make you redundant, okay? That was what happened to me. I was made redundant and I was looking for work. And it went on for a while. During my maternity leave, after I had Olivia, I was made redundant. I thought, okay, I have my child, I will find a job. When it was time to look for a job, I was looking for work. I couldn't find work because things were hard that time in the finance industry. And this is where God is amazing. It got to a point, I said, okay, you know what, okay, right? Maybe this is not for me. I'm looking for work. Maybe I should go and do something else. At this point, I was just desperate. I just wanted a job. I got to a point, I would go to my local supermarket and I would begin to envy the cashier, because she has a job and I don't. And I thought, what kind of thing? I said, okay, at this point, I will do anything. I remember going online, and I was this job for it was in a school. It was admin office in the school. I said, I would take it. I would apply for this job, even though it's not my field, okay, right? It's not what I do, but I would apply it. I was even applying for less money. But I said I would do it. And I put in the application. And then I got a phone call. I remember I was in the car with my husband. I was dropping the kids at school, and I got a phone call. And they said, is this Mary? I said, yes. Oh, we've seen your CV. Where do you see my CV? Oh, we've seen your CV, but we want to call you for an interview. And it was in this Schroders. I didn't even apply for this job. I didn't even know these people. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I went to the interview, and straight away I can see that these people, the jobs before where I go to, okay, right, where you can't even talk about kids, let alone you have kids. These people were, you've got kids, I've got kids, and it was, you can tell it was almost like a family. It was almost like, it was very welcoming. These people, you knew that there was something here. To cut a long story short, I got the job. Now, this is where God is in, because I remember praying to God, just on the fact that, okay, God, show me what you want me to do. But I, as a person, although I'd prayed to God, I was already trying to make alternative arrangements. Never make alternative arrangements for God, okay? God doesn't need you to help him. He needs you to trust in him. Don't try and do his job for him. Don't try and make things easier for him, because he didn't beg you. He didn't beg me. He knew what he was doing. Just trust in him. Though it may tarry, it is coming to pass.
Wow, that's amazing. I think, just drawing on that, I just want to ask you, how do you equip yourself to know that God is more than enough in those situations? Because obviously you say that you went through that trying time, and how did you, what brought you back to reality and brought you back to God?
So there's always a time in our life, okay, the Bible says he didn't give us the spirit of fear, but fear creeps in, okay? It's when fear creeps in that you begin to think about alternatives. Try to give God a helping hand. Try to make the way, the journey a bit shorter. But as that fear comes in, pray to God to dispel the fear. Get rid of that spirit of fear. Be bold, okay? Yes, it may be a trying time. It may be a time of scarcity where things are hard. Even now in this our cost of living crisis, we're hearing it all the time, okay, right? And people will tell you, the grace of God is sufficient, and he will supply all in according to his riches and goodness. Yes, those are Bible verses we need to hold on. But sometimes we this is the Bible verse, this is practice, this is real life. How do we marry the two? That is the problem. How do we marry the two? And we marry the two by being strong in our faith. In the times of adversity, when people are looking at you and thinking, what are you waiting for? The same spot we left you is where you are there. Don't look at that. okay? Because I tell you, his grace is sufficient. His grace is sufficient. It doesn't say his grace is sufficient. It doesn't mean it's happening. It may happen now. But in all things, just know his grace is sufficient. He's coming. The answer is coming. It may tarry. It may take a while. But just be strong in faith and know God. Speak to him. Have a communion. Have a one-to-one with him. Talk to him like you're talking to your dad. You're seeing physically. Talk to him and let him know the desires of your heart. And he is just and able to grant them.
Man, wow. I'm just learning a lot. Picking up determination, faith, resilience, persistence, trust as well, trust in God. And it's great because these are examples that I hope us young people will grasp upon, because a lot of people go through financial pressures, and a lot of people make alternative arrangements. People go into even illegal stuff as well to provide. Young people go into stuff to provide as well. But you both are examples of trusting in God, being determined and knowing who you are, and not refusing to compromise as well. Quickly, if anyone has any questions, you can write them down and just give it to someone in the shirt, and we can go over them after. Francis, how do you equip yourself to show, as Daniel said, to show that God's more than enough, but equip yourself even within testing times
how I equip myself. So I would go with, like Auntie said, going with faith. So I always, especially with my profession now, so one of the prayers that I prayed before going in is, God, I'm going. So I was at Labrooks as a manager, just part-time, so I could just play football. So I said, this profession I'm going into now, this is like full self-employment, I just pray that never ever let me down. God was like, I'll never let you down, this and that. So I just held on to that word. Rough start, obviously, as usual. There was I remember even when I was starting, there was, where I lived in Southeast London, I had like a couple of clients in Brixton, which is probably like an hour, 20 minutes drive. And we'd go there and I have to pay like £12 an hour for parking. And I'm like, how much am I even making? I'm there for like 1 hour. So it was very, very rough. But one of the things that I always hold on to is the word that God gave me from the start. And then I always take action as well. So, it says faith without works is dead. So I believe is whenever times are rough or whatever, I always remember that word. And then I always take the next action that I believe is in my heart, that God has spoken to me. And he always blesses that. Always, always.
Amen. And that's another strong example. Francis, did you ever make any alternative arrangements? So Auntie spoke about applying for an admin job at a school. Did you have any other alternative arrangements? And what led you to those as well?
No, I'm not gonna lie, no.
Wow, that's strong.
But I did take a big risk a couple of months ago to go. Basically, I'm paying my gym like a lot of money every month just to use it, so I can just train my clients. It's a risk that I know I should have taken a long time ago, but I was like, I can't justify paying them, I'm going to say it's £700 a month just to use the gym to train my clients. I was like, I got my bills, I got this, I got my business bills, But it's something that I'm sure God was telling me to just do it, just to free up a little bit of my time. And so I just did it. And then, but before I wanted to do it, I was like, I like to write things. So let me write down some of the ways, just in case I need to.
So wait, Francis, when you said you were paying your gym £700 a month, so you're not working for the gym, you're just paying them to use the space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just whereas before I would teach classes for them, I would do like 12 hours a week just to help the gym stuff as a form of rent payment, but I wanted my time back. So if you want your time back, you just pay them £700. You don't do anything. You're not employed by the gym. You don't do anything for the gym. So one of the things was like, what other things, if this doesn't work, like if it gets too much, what could I do? And what happens then is my mind just went blank, and my mind never goes blank. My mind just went blank. So I was like, okay, this is the indication. That's number one. And then number two, I have some spare uniform that we wear when we're on shift, and it goes, just give them away. I was like, but what if I need to go back? It was like, no, we're not going back. So I just gave them away. And I just listened, because what happens is when you start deliberating and start flirting with the other ideas, that's when the confusion comes. But when you hear it and you do it, then things go well, man.
I think that's just a good example of like just listening and trusting in God. And I think, yeah, like, do you have another question?
Or time, 4 minutes. I think that panelists, I've just learned so much. Like, obviously we know each other all our lives, but just to hear about your personal experiences and just your journey and the amount of resilience you guys have and just character and determination is great to hear that, and encouraging for us young people that we have this as well. And I don't think we should ever get discouraged or clouded. I think once we know what we want to do, despite the distractions or people who might not agree, or you might not get confirmation from people, but yeah, you have that confirmation with yourself from God, and just chase your dreams. And how have you guys, just quickly, you guys are experts now in your field, how has it been to get to that stage as well, briefly, and then Daniel will take it and conclude. I'm experts.
Sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, so you guys have you've gone from university, having no experience, become an expert. Francis as well, taking that step to become a performance coach, and now you're training Olympians, you've trained many people, you're doing well in your business. How have you gone from that stage to experts? One thing just to say, I don't know, piece of advice for many of us young people we're beginners within our field, and we want to get to that stage.
Yeah, so with me, it's just a case of just working my way within the industry. So I'm now a lead specialist. Before I became a specialist...
Lead specialist.
Before I became a lead specialist, obviously, I had to work my way. So I've done different things. I've done foreign exchange, I've done money markets, I've done emerging markets. I've just worked within the bank. Okay, so even where I am now, when I first went in, I was dealing with money markets. I'm now in collateral. So it's just been able to move and just gain experience in that way, and just building up your portfolio.
Wow, definitely. Francis?
And I think just touching on what you said as well is you gain a lot of experience along the way. So a lot of the learning, so when I was training to be PT, I knew quite a lot of it because I've been going gym since I was like 13. But the actual, when you get the certificate, is my first client, I was like, whoa. So one of my very first sessions, my client fainted. So when they're teaching you first aid and everyone's joking around, funny. Now you have to do first aid. I'm like, oh. So a lot of the stuff is learning on the go. And an example is, be open to different scenarios, because that's actually how you get better. How do you deal with somebody who's going to have a breakdown? How do you deal with somebody who's, one of my clients, she had a broken leg. How do you deal with this? So I think be open to many, many experiences, because it makes you better. And then always just constantly trying to progress and get better in your field, because the better you are in your field, the more valuable you are. The more valuable you are, the higher, the ranking people are seeking you. So yeah.
And can I just say one last thing as well? No experience is too small, okay? And no experience is insignificant, okay? No matter where you start from, okay? Like I said, when I started working, I was working in cleaning jobs, okay, right? That experience has shown me, it's given me responsibility, okay? It's given me something. So don't think that, don't despise your small beginnings. Don't despise where you're starting from, okay, right? Keep working on it, okay, right? No experience is too small.
Woo!
Oh, amen.
I've learned a lot.
Can I ask you just a very quick question? How do you guys deal with your journeys and your pressures that you face?
We're back to the
I don't think that's how it works.
I'm sure they want to know.
Was a part of the plan, was it?
They want to know about you. I should have told you before. Sorry.
I think for me, it's just trying to stay to the plan that I have, that I think in my head, and that is sometimes you have to allow God to move that plan along, but always be like with God and praying with Him and talking to Him and just engaging with Him on that journey, because you can't do it by yourself.
100%. Good. And I think for me, I just try to stay focused as much as I can, sticking to the plan, and also knowing the ability God has given me. So, for example, I've just done an internship and at times I found it challenging within like just politics, working for an MP. There's kind of within that senior level, there's a lot of people who had good educations, kind of elite and stuff like that. But I've been given the ability, God has given me so much that I can use and express and even influence what's going on. But for me to keep going and stay focused, I have to activate that at every moment, every day. So when you're talking about meditation and stuff like that and training, I have to activate that. If I don't activate that, then I'm a lost cause. So just activating and staying focused. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that all, Francis?
No, that's okay. So that concludes our interview. Thank you.
A round of applause for our panelists, Francis Babalola and Andy Booker. That's been amazing. Round of applause. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the first session.
Yes.
And I hope you took valuable insights from it as well.